Hi everybody. I'm sure you received an email from us last week giving you some information about the upcoming club season. And Bridget and I thought we would do our annual video to kind of give you a heads up of what to expect, because certainly the landscape of the club season is going to look a little different for at least the immediate future. And we wanted to put this video together for our returning families so you could kind of have an idea of what to expect and when to expect it and the possible scenarios that could come up during the course of the season. And then that way you can make an informed decision, as now the club season is right around the corner. So I wrote down some important information. I'm going to stick to the script. Nobody wants to hear my stories, and I get it. So I did write it down, so I'm going to kind of refer to it, and then I'll hand it over to Bridget for some financial information. And then, as usual, if you have any questions, you can reach out to her or I, but we think this will at least answer most of your questions, right? Like at this point, at least with the information that we have at this time.
And
so,
it could change today. I mean, for right now, this is what we have, and we're pretty confident that this is good.
The way that 2020 is going, we just expect several more curveballs, but I will tell you this, we are super grateful for our families that we were able to work with our athletes this past summer. We enjoyed doing that so much, and we're also grateful that in whatever capacity we'll be able to work with our athletes in the upcoming and near future, and then believe at some point we are really hopeful that things will eventually be back to what we consider a little more normal. But in the meantime, we're grateful for the opportunity that we have. As you saw in our email, when the IHSA moved the girls volleyball season to the spring, USA Volleyball in our region held a mandatory emergency meeting to talk about what we could do for our athletes, because usually we play volleyball in the fall. And so what they came up with was the club season was going to start sooner and then allow athletes to play for their high school season. I know there's still some questions about middle school, and certainly if middle school is allowed to be played, then we would accommodate that as well. But that we're kind of able to still allow our athletes to play a high school season. We think that that's incredibly important. We think there's no greater pride than playing for your school. So we want our kids to be able to do that, but also to get a club season. So kind of how it breaks out is this, and again, this came out to the email with you guys, so you probably should have a general idea, but I just kind of want to clear it up. The youth girls season would start in September, and it will run through May. I don't have an exact end date in May because we're hopeful to be playing some tournaments there, but we know it won't go past May. Our high school girls, minus 18s, would start in September. They would break for President's Day, which is the start, or at President's Day, which is the start of their high school season, play their high school season, and then come back to us in May and June to complete the club season. And then our 18s, because they've been ending a little bit sooner anyways, they have a lot of kind of exciting things going on with graduations and proms and senior celebrations, and well, quite frankly, there's something all the time with the senior, which is great. And as our athletes are getting ready to play for college, they're starting their college workouts, required camps, and things like that. So our 18s will follow kind of that same thing we've been doing, and they would start in September. And then when they broke for high school season, they simply don't return. Now, I will say this, if we have athletes who want to come back for some additional training, we'd always have that. Or if for some reason the high school season changed again, we could accommodate so that our athletes are as ready to go to college as they can be. But right now, in the way that we have it laid out, they would end at President's Day, go play their high school seasons. That would take them right into the summer, and then they'd get ready to leave for college. So that's kind of how it would break out. Bridget will discuss the finances for you guys, as I mentioned, but at this time, there's no tournaments scheduled. So when she gives you the fees and stuff, that's simply for training. We are hopeful that at some point we will get to play, but per the guidelines we were given in the phase that we're in right now, we can train and we can do interleague competition, which we're excited because we do have a lot of teams at Club One that we can compete against each other, but at this time we are not permitted to go out, well, I guess after the 15th, we are not permitted to go out and play against other clubs. But we do think or hope, maybe that's what it is, I hope, that at some point through the course of the season that will be different. And at that time, we would add tournaments to the schedule. But as it stands right now, the way we have it set up is training purposes only. So with that, because we aren't playing in any tournaments right now, there is no AAU or USAV registration required. And it's just an additional expense. I, again, am hopeful that at some point you will have to obtain one, because that means we're playing in tournaments. But for right now, it doesn't make any sense to spend the extra money when you're not really using it for competition purposes. If we get the green light, when we get the green light to go play, when I'm very positive about this.
Only good mode on this.
Right here.
Since March 13th.
Yes.
Positive.
Yes. So, when we would get that, then teams would be required to obtain a USAV and or an AAU, and it just depends on the tournaments you play in. So if the tournaments you're going to play in only require one, then we're only going to ask you to get one. But if you are playing in two different things and require two different memberships, we would certainly communicate that. And that's no different than what we've done in the past. Most of our programs did have a USAV and an AAU, but some had one or some had the other. So we would communicate that at a later date. But at this time, no membership is required, and you would literally just renew if and when that time came. When people ask me or have asked me about tournaments, what I can tell you is I don't really know. But what I can speculate now is that we would get in a league, because that's typically what we do, and it gives a great variety of competition. And then we would look for what else was around us that would give us the best competition, allow us to see different teams and things of that nature. Could we travel? I don't know. We'll have to find out when that time comes. Do we like to do those things and see high-level competition? Of course we do, but each state may be at a different place, or maybe everybody's going to be permitted, and then we would be allowed to do that. But what I can tell you is we will be respectful to our families. We will communicate with you. We're not going to say, oh, hey, it's Wednesday, by the way, we're playing Saturday. That's never been what we've done, and we won't do that now. But as we were getting closer and as we're getting more information, we would start immediately communicating to our families about what the tournament scene would kind of look like. What I can tell you right now is every club volleyball program is in the same boat as we are. So nobody can play right now, and everybody would be communicating and working together when the time comes for us to be able to do that, so that we can get the most out of the experience. So just know that we have ideas in the back of our head, we have local ideas, we have the possibility to travel if and when that time comes. But right now, until we get the green light to do that, we're simply training, and then we would communicate as we go. So what's different for us this year, if you're watching this video right now, you played for us last season. And so what's going to be different right now for the tryouts is, USA Volleyball has come out and said, hey, you can try out September 1st. Well, and that's great, and we're excited because we want to get our kids in the gym. But there's a couple different things, and Bridget and I have talked about this extensively over the past few months. And we're going to change the tryout procedure for this season for our returning club families. And what we're going to do is, for our returning club families, we are going to extend an offer for you to come back and play for us for the upcoming club season. So you would not be required to try out on September 1st if you are a previous 2020, 2021. No.
Yeah, 2000.
I lost a whole year.
It feels like this has been going on for a decade.
Yes,
Yeah.
It would be 2019-2020 club season.
Yes.
We would extend the offer to you. You do not have to sign up for the tryout. You don't have to pay the tryout fee. And we're doing it for a couple of reasons. We always talk and we're trying to adapt to the times, but there's a couple things. Number one, we know that our families from the 2019-2020 club season really didn't get all that Club One has to offer. And while I don't think that it was anybody's fault in doing that, we take great pride in our program and how we run it. And we continue to say we just didn't get to provide that for our new and our old families. We hope that our old families kind of know what we're all about and how we've been able to do it in the past, but we want to be able to have a do-over year where we can continue to provide and give families an idea of exactly what we're all about. We also know that because of restrictions and guidelines, we won't be able to take as many teams this year. So, we don't know exactly how that's shaking out, but we would have less in each age division. And then in addition to that, we have the unusual issue with spacing and tryouts and number of kids in the gym to keep everybody safe. So as we looked at those scenarios, and number one being continuing to provide for our families in what was a very strange and unplanned year. And we're going into that a little bit this year still, but I think it's going to hopefully get better at some point. But that we can provide for those families who were with us first and offer that, to those families and to those athletes first. So how that would work is this. Beginning August 26th, which I believe that's a Wednesday.
I think you are correct.
A registration link will be available to our returning families. So, and Bridget will kind of talk to you in more detail. There's a deposit, and we'll kind of talk about that. But on the 26th, the registration link would go live. Bridget will email it out, but it will additionally get posted on our website in case you, as a family, for whatever reason, don't receive our emails. And we know that sometimes happens. That registration link will have you register for the upcoming season. It will have paperwork, and we're still working through some of those things, but it will have paperwork, and it will have a deposit, and it'll have all these different things in it. And when you register, it secures your spot in the program. So we want to give our families times. We want to make sure everybody kind of knows what's going on. We want to have people be able to plan and budget. But the thing that's going to be a little bit different is we are still going to have tryouts because we want new families and different things that will be coming. And so we're still going to have tryouts. And those tryouts are going to be on September 1st. So we would need to have your registration in by September 1st at noon. And that's not really any different than what we would do in the past. You try out by the next day at noon, you had to give it in. We're actually giving more time this year. We're just eliminating the tryout piece for our returning families. After that, we're going to go into tryouts on the evening of September 1st at 2 locations. We're kind of spreading them apart. We may have to do multiple tryouts to get kids in the time frames to, just to continue to be safe and be within the numbers that we're asked to be within. And then those spots that we have after we've done the registration with our Club One families will be extended. So the only thing that I can say is if you didn't register and you were planning to, after September 1st at noon, we would have to wait and see what we had from the tryout if we were able to extend an offer. So I'm only throwing that out because it's such a unique year and how this all has to be done. We don't want it to be confusing and someone say, well, I didn't know, I thought just because I played last year. So the bottom line is this, the registration link comes out on the 26th. You have until September 1st at noon to register. And then after that, if you either weren't sure you wanted to and then you decide to, or whatever the case is, you would need to reach back out to us after the tryout just to see what, if any, spots we have available. But we're kind of working through those things. We think that's the best way at this point to do it. We want to see our Club One families back in the gym. We enjoyed it so much this summer, but we still think we have so much more to give. So that's kind of how that would work. In terms of teams this year, it's still new teams. There's still team placement that needs to take place. Regardless of the team you were on last year, that doesn't mean you're automatically on this team this year. So what we would do is after we kind of get through, and we're anticipating, did we say September 8th?
Yes, the day after Labor Day. Yep.
Yeah, September 8th that week, so it gives us time for our new kids who are trying out to get registered and stuff like that. We would most likely start with position training only. Now, we do understand sometimes younger kids play multiple positions, or they don't know, or they want to change. We'll work through those details. But we would start with position training for a set amount of time for our athletes, and team placement would take place from there. And then once teams are selected, teams would train within their own teams and then be able to compete against other teams in that age division. And then once tournament play was allowed, then those teams would go out and play outside competition. So, but that's kind of how we would handle it. The position training would allow kids to be evaluated over an extended period of time in the position they play, then place teams from there, and then kind of get into the normal routine that we've had. I know we talked about this, but for uniforms, no returning Club One female athlete needs to purchase a new uniform. However, I do just want to throw this out. We will be offering a uniform package to our new families. If you needed something, you could certainly offer off of that, order off of that. Good Lord, keep with me. But the only thing I can say is, unfortunately, uniforms would have to be ordered right at the beginning of the year like they always are, because we wouldn't be able to order them and have them in time at a later date. So that's the only thing. You know, if your daughter's fits for the most part and you can get away with it for another year, do it. If she lost a jersey, there's a giant hole, or the thing is like up to here and it's like a tube top, then you need to order one. You can just order the specific items you need. You will be included on the uniform order information email, but just know you don't have to do anything unless you need it. And the last thing that I just want to talk about, and we'll continue to send information out to our families as we go, but I do just want to talk about, you know, COVID and COVID safety procedures. Obviously, COVID is still here. It's going to be here for a while. And we will email our families, you know, our safety procedures and guidelines as we did when we returned in the summer. Most of, or all of that information still pertains to our coaches and our athletes. But we are going to be adding some things. We're going to add at the beginning, when athletes come in for their team practice, they're going to scan a QR code with their phone. And basically what it does, it takes them to a document that allows them just to do a self-assessment of their symptoms. So do you have a cough? Do you have these things? And it's a way for us to track attendance. And it kind of just keeps it in the system. And we've been asked to, you know, to be able to have that information should somebody request it from us. So we will have that. I did just jot down, you know, our entrance and exit procedures, sanitizer, temp checks, facility equipment, and cleaning. Those will all continue to be a top priority for us, and we'll continue to do those things. We're just taking some additional steps to do our best to ensure the safety of our athletes and staff. We do want to just touch on the fact that, you know, if a player, and we've kind of gone through this, and we work with the Will County Health Department, and we work with USA Volleyball, and we try to follow the guidelines of everything, and there's so many places, but fortunately most of it is determined for us. However, we like to actually take additional steps. So if a player was exposed to COVID, I'm pretty sure this would be common sense, but that player should not be coming to practice. And I'm going to tell you guys this too. If a player isn't feeling well, I know as a mom of four with my kids are back in athletics right now. We're trying to play 100 games in 1 month just because we want to get everything back. And so, and with 3 kids, 100 games is really 300 games. So we're a little busy, but you know, if in the past, if one of my kids wasn't feeling well, or maybe one of your kids isn't feeling well, and you're like, suck it up, go to practice. What we're going to say is, if you're not feeling well, stay home. Please. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, stay home.
It's all right. You won't penalize.
There is nothing for us to worry about if you're not feeling great. Stay home. Make sure that, you know, we're taking those extra precautions. You know, we realize that there are other illnesses that exist outside of COVID, but with so many things going on, we'd rather be safe. And if you're not feeling great, stay home so we can do our best. But if a player is, you know, around it or exposed, that athlete needs to stay home. If a player tests positive on a team, and I've gone through this, you know, in other sports as my kids' directors have sent things home, we're all doing the things that we need to do. So essentially what would happen is that team would be shut down for 14 days. Now there is some verbiage that says now it's 10 or from the exposure date, but right now we're going to take the safety precautions that we need to, and that team would be shut down for the amount of time that was required so that we can keep everybody as safe as possible during that time. If that changes as we go, the requirements change, then we would adjust accordingly. I do just want to say that if that happened to a team, you would receive an email from Bridget or myself if that team or that exposure pertained to you. So it is not, rumors fly and people, and all of a sudden it can be something much different than it is. But if we are informed, we would inform those that it affected, and those, you know, via an email, and then take the next necessary precautions for the return of an individual and the return of a team, and we would be communicating directly with those, you know, that it pertained to. So we're hoping that that's not something that we have to do, but we do want to have everything in place so if it happens, we're prepared to act swiftly and communicate with everybody that we need to, and then, you know, take those steps as we go. So I am one more thing that I must say. per Governor Pritzker, a new waiver must be filled out dated after August 15th as we move into these new phases and stages that he set. So if you played with us in the summer or you had a summer camp one, just know there will be a new one required for everybody. It will be in the registration packet, so you don't need to go find the one that was originally sent. It's possible it will be slightly updated per the governor's new rules, but you will need one just in case you're like, I already did this. Just know that as we move into the new club season, which begins September 8th, as we move into it, a new waiver is required for all of our athletes and our staff. So I'm handing it over. Here it goes.
As many of you know, because you've been with us for so long, mine is much shorter.
However, mine was 20 minutes. That's the shortest it's ever been.
I think it's the shortest it's ever been. So in terms of the fees, what we will be doing this year, which is different than in the past, where you got to select your monthly payment plan and how you'd like to do it, we will be charging a monthly training fee. As Bree mentioned before, tournaments are not included because we don't know, and if we're not playing in them, we're not requiring you to pay for them. But this is important this year, which is so very different, because who would have thought we'd ever be talking about this? But if for whatever reason there was a national shutdown that took place in March, we would suspend the payments. So you will be paying a monthly payment for the training, but let's just say in November something happened and we had to shut down, any payments for training that would be missed would be suspended.
So I think, and I'm going to stop Bridget because this is her business and she's going to kill me for saying this, but I think what we learned is she would actually refund versus suspend. Didn't we learn that? Because you can't stop a payment. She wants to kill me.
You see?
No. We're working through Sport Engine.
So Sport Engine is a funny thing, and we all know this, right? So for any of you who've ever asked for an adjustment with me and things like that, it's not as clear cut as it could be. It doesn't let me just press a button and say, oh, by the way, you don't have to pay this month. So when I say suspend, I mean that you won't have to pay for that month.
Yeah.
But what I will actually have to do is the payment would process as normal, and then I would immediately go in and refund that month. So I can do a refund, but then if it started to pick up again, I can't re-implement the same program. So listen, we're just hoping there's no shutdown. We're not hoping. We're praying.
Yes.
You know.
Well, and Bridget's been on Sport Engine like crazy. Like, this shouldn't be this way. This should be more user friendly. So we just, worst case scenario, if you can't just stop it and restart it, it would be immediately refunded to you for the duration of the shutdown, however many weeks that was. So, but that's the worst case. We just don't want anyone to think like, wait a second, you said, because this isn't typical procedure within Sport Engine, but Bridget's recreating the world and she's telling them how they're going to do it. So by then it could be done.
I'm pretty much telling them that it's terrible and that they need me to come work for Sport Engine, but then she'd cry because I wouldn't be with her anymore. So we're just going to do this, COVID, we got it all. We're figuring it all out. So you would not be paying for that training. You would be charged and then immediately refunded for that. And then when we picked back up, the payments would obviously still be going.
Yep.
Upon registration, so in that August 26th to the September 1st, when you guys would register, there will be a non-refundable $215 deposit that's going to be required upon your registration. This includes a JVA membership, which is going to be in lieu or in place of the AAU and USAV, so that there is coverage there. And then the other is for fees that we need to start up the season. So that would be non-refundable even if there was a shutdown or anything that they had to do for the entire year. We would then start with the monthly payments. So breaking it down, those would be due on the 16th of the month, not the 1st of the month. They're due on the 16th. And if you are an 11 or a 12U player, it's $135 per month, September 16th, with your last payment being May 16th. If you're a 13 or a 14U player, it's $175 per month, same thing, September through May. 15 to 17U would be $225 a month. It would be September through April. Now, while you will not be there during your high school season, again, Sport Engine can't stop, start, all that, so you would pay through April, but when you come back and train in May and June, you've already paid for those months. So it would just be September to April. For our 18, you would be $225 per month, and it would go September through through March. And then your season would be done.
To President's
To
Day.
President's Day.
Is that in March?
No, I think it's the middle of February.
Okay, well, you know.
You know what we're talking about. Listen, February 1st would probably be the last one per the system. Actually, listen, we're learning as we go.
February 16th.
February 16th last payment would be half of that. It would be $112.50 because you're only doing half of the month. So your last payment wouldn't be the full $225. It would be half of that.
For the 18th.
For the 18s only. Because that ends at President's Day, and then they will not return. So your last payment will be a little bit less because of that half month. I know Bree mentioned that the registration link will be available beginning August 26th. We will email and post it like she said. If for whatever reason you do not see something, I know that sometimes in Sport Engine, unless you remember, some people don't remember which account email they use. They think they have a secondary, but they didn't give it permissions, things like that. If you don't see it, email me. I can send it to you. I can get it to you so that you meet that 12 p.m. Deadline on September 1st. And I know as Bree mentioned, because at that point we will be offering it to others. But I'm always available, via email for anything like that, or questions, or
She likes you to call.
Oh, yeah. I do. Texting, anything. Any way that you can get in touch with me, I'm happy to respond. So if you don't see something, just let me know, and I can get that over to you right away. As Bree mentioned, paperwork, we're working on all of the paperwork, putting everything together. In the past, we had a drop off. We've discussed maybe doing like a drive-by where you
Like
would just
Portillo's.
like Portillo's. And I mean, we will have people like all 6 feet apart, ready to go, taking the paperwork. We've entertained that over the summer. I had a lot of everything emailed because we couldn't take paper copies. It had to be electronic. So we are working through the details on how that is going to work. And we will give you information as that becomes more available. If we did have a paperwork drop off, it wouldn't be until after the tryouts, and we would schedule times to do that. But we are working through all of those things. Everything that we have will then be in another step-by-step like we've done in the past. But we really wanted to get this out today just so you could start seeing. We've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of questions on it, and now that we've been kind of given some more definite direction, we felt that it was important to get that out to our families as soon as we had it. And
So just a couple things. Remember, this particular video, while a lot of it would pertain to others, this particular video pertains to those who played for us last season. So, those who didn't are going to go through a tryout procedure and all of those things. Additionally, we will be sending out, hey, the girls registration tryout link is now available. You don't have to do that, because if you're registering to play, you're not coming to the tryout. So I don't want anyone to get confused like, wait, I thought they said, because it will go out to everybody in our system. So tomorrow we're going to put out, today's going to be the boys, and then tomorrow's going to be the girls. But again, our returning Club One families from last season would not register for the tryout and would not come to the tryout, because we're offering it to you in a different way for this one season. So so if you see it, you're not like getting confused. However, if you're confused, all you have to do is ask us. And then we would be able to tell you. But hopefully this clears up the training, team placements, tournaments, because there's a lot of unknowns with that. So tournaments, payments, so you have an idea of what you're paying and how you're paying per month. What happens if we get in the same situation we were in a year ago? Uniforms, just an overall general idea. We're going to still learn more, because every day we're getting new information, and so we're going to continue to communicate that with you. But at least you have the bones of what's going on right now, and have an idea, so that you can kind of plan, and hopefully we see a lot of our Club One families back, and we're excited for that. We miss the kids, we miss kind of the way things were, but we are grateful that we're able to do this, and we look forward to a good season ahead of us, and we're excited.
We are very excited. So again, any questions, reach out to either one of us. We will in real time give you the updates as we have them. And we look forward to getting back and having the kids in the gym. It was a fun summer. So
It was.
We wish everyone the best. We'll talk to you soon.